What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 726 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk Hot Tags of the Week. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, joined as always by Robert Felice.
Happy Halloween, everybody, and happy anniversary to Tony and his wife.
Oh, thank you so much. And Callum Wiggins.
Ooh, scared me.
That's my intention. And, happy Halloween to everybody else that's out there. Let us know if you are dressing up as anything today. I am dressing up as somebody who's got their shit together. Let's see if that's scary.
Well, we're twinning right now. I'm also dressing up as somebody who's got their shit together.
I saw a thing that Insomnia Cookies here. If you go there dressed up in like some kind of a costume and you buy a cookie, they'll give you one for free. And I was like, oh man, I should go there, buy a cookie, and then they'd be like, oh, if you had a costume on, you whatever, and I'll just be like, oh, I'm masking all the time. Does that count? There's a difference between the spookiness of Halloween and the spookiness of the real world. Which, by the way, if you're into spooky stuff, check out my wife's collection over on the AAPB, the AmericanArchive.org, and it's Bumps in the Night. Go ahead, and if you don't know what it is, let me know, and I'll drop a comment below. I'll give you some information about that. But anyway, we are on one of those episodes of Hot Tags where, to be perfectly honest, I didn't really have anything ahead of time prepared. I don't think it's been a very eventful news week, and if it has been, I've been kind of checked out, so I might have lost some of the stuff in the shuffle there, but we do have some stuff that's going on when it comes to the TV kind of content, and then on top of that, there's kind of things that spill over from that, whatever. But when I'm looking through and I'm seeing all these things about, hey, Warner Brothers might switch things up around with AEW in a way that nobody knows and we can't report anything. Okay, well, then that's not a news story. And then Netflix is exploring some possibilities of whatever, but we don't know exactly what it is, and none of that's in discussion, and that's all speculation, and it could be complete nonsense. Well, okay. So it's been a week like that with a lot of the stuff that I'm looking through, but, it is what it is. Sometimes we have weeks where crazy amounts of things go on, and sometimes we have weeks where, thankfully, it's not as nuts. But, if we forget anything, drop a comment below and let us know, and then we'll try to roll that into next week or something. We're going to leave a comment in response, but you should be leaving your comments across the board. Maybe if you are on Discord, then chat it up throughout the week at any point in time about anything that's on those different channels. You can find that link to the channel servers and everything over on the sidebar of smarkamoment.com. You can find it below on YouTube, or you can just look at the link that's on your screen right now. Keep in mind, too, that if you are on YouTube, the comment section's there. Go ahead and leave a comment. Also, make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, get your email alert set up for tomorrow's Saturday night's main event post-show, immediately following the show, which I'm hoping ends at 10 p.m. because I don't want it to go any longer than that. And we'll, of course, be having live coverage elsewhere and, all smarkonmoment.com and all that. But if you want to help us out on the monetary side of things, toss a little spare change our way through the thanks button. Make sure that you click on the join button over on YouTube, join the YouTube channel membership. Join these super chats if you are on the live chats for the post shows and stuff. Patreon.com/SmarkOutMoment. It's the same exact thing. The only difference being it's not on YouTube. And Redbubble and TeePublic is where you can get your merchandise if you are interested in that kind of side of things. So all that stuff out of the way. One thing for us to start breaking down is something that happened prior to Monday Night Raw, which was the potential of an interesting story of these, cryptic, mysterious teaser things. The WWE likes to do these things and just get people talking. It's a good strategy, it's a marketing thing. And it was showing, at first, just one person's feet walking. Okay. Expensive looking shoes, dress pants, whatever. Then it went to a different set of shoes, different set of pants, but it looked like it was still maybe some kind of loafers with strings, shoelaces, whatever. Then it started to get progressively more like wrestling boots. And at this point in time, I'm seeing all sorts of theories. One of them being, this is Chris Jericho and it's representing all the different characters that he's had, which didn't make any sense to me because I was like, I don't look at that and think, okay, the dress shoes equals the suit version of Jericho. Sure. But what are the other two? And people are like, oh, that's the light up jacket and then the lion heart. And I'm like, since when did the light up jacket guy wear dress shoes and regular like business pants? That doesn't make any sense. And the business stuff leading into the other stuff made me start to think, okay, well, are we getting like Tony D'Angelo? And it's becoming, he's going from the Don to like go back to his roots of like slowly, you know, we're seeing the transition from, and I was giving them way too much credit here, as you could tell, like, it's going to be Tony D as the Don of NXT, and then when he was an underboss, and then when he was kind of just like a brute thug, and it's going to be like, I need to go back to my roots and just be like that brawler that got into the mafia business or whatever the hell. Clearly not the case. Ends up being just the promotional thing for WrestleMania. And it's just Punk, Roman, Paul Heyman, Triple H, Cody Rhodes, and Brock Lesnar sitting around a poker table. I was not surprised to see that this was a less interesting, in my mind at the very least, a less interesting idea than what I was pitching, and a less wild idea than I was seeing other people pitch. And I saw so many people that were upset about this being like, oh man, like this totally was Jericho, or this totally was some big debut or whatever. And I'm like, man, you got your hopes up way too high. And WWE, I guess, didn't realize that people would start making this kind of jump and then get disappointed. But hey, that's what happens when you put out some mystery things. People start imagining all the options, and then when you underperform, then you end up disappointing them, you know? I felt like this was more of a dud than anything else, but maybe you guys disagree, maybe you guys have a different point of view. I don't know. What do you think?
A boat's a boat, but the mystery box can be anything. It can even be a boat. Actually, I'm not going to sit here and like sing the praises of WWE, but like this one's on the people who got their hopes up. There was nothing that said, holy shit, it's definitely Jericho, who, by the way, is still technically under contract. It's definitely Santos Escobar. Oh man, they really are going to make Andrade wrestle more for them. Like, at some point, it's your own fault for doing this to yourself. As far as the ad itself, it was fine. It made me chuckle. I sent you the Bonko from James Bond when I sent you the full clip, because it's a fine commercial. They're back in Vegas. I think they missed the opportunity for Cody to say that he's going double or nothing or all in. But other than that, it is what it is.
While I obviously agree with Rob that like people speculated and they built up their own idea in their head, and there was no kind of actual promise or clarity over whether it's someone coming in. I just don't think that, knowing the business that you're in, you should be doing teasers for an ad. Like, just do the ad. Who cares? Who cares about? Does the teasers add a lot more excitement around the advert? No, it just makes people, because you know what business you're in. You've been in it long enough to say, oh, they see Random Feet coming with just these like these cryptic tweets that WWE are putting out with no wording behind it or anything on those lines, and it's just videos of feet walking. You're just immediately going to assume, oh, is someone debuting or is something happening? Like, you have to recognize that while they're not actively seeking out that level of speculation, they know what their fan base is like, or they know what the wrestling fan base is like. And when you start doing cryptic stuff like that, you're immediately going to draw levels of speculation. And fundamentally, what they built this speculation for, or built up this hype for, wasn't worth it. It's a fucking advert for WrestleMania. You know, that show that everyone watches every single year in your fan base, that you don't need to even think about advertising, because you know what? Your fan base is going to watch WrestleMania. If they're going to watch anything across the year, they're going to watch WrestleMania. They'll miss they may miss half the rest of the year or 3/4 of the rest of the year. They're going to turn up for WrestleMania. So right. What is the point of building so much hype around it right now? Like we're in October. We're at the end of October. We're going into November, but like it's yeah, why do you need to start hyping it up now, 6 months away from a show that pretty much regardless of how bad the build is, one way or the other, people are still going to tune in and watch. So
Now,
Yeah, it's one
did
thing if they
announce
would
the
have
tickets on
not
sale?
said where WrestleMania is going to be, and then this could have been like a hype up thing to be like, okay, well now we're going to reveal where WrestleMania is, because even that's like lame, but at the same time, at least that's something where people will go, oh, maybe this is the thing about like, you know, is this New Orleans? Is this whatever? It was just, like what bothers me about that is I hate the culture that we're in now. And I mean, I hate it in so many different ways, but I'm from the era, maybe I'm dating myself, I'm 38 years old. Or shit, am I 39? Okay, I forget. I don't remember. I hate that I don't remember off the top of my head. The whole like in a world type of movie theater trailers were a lot of fun. And eventually we got to a point where people realized, oh, we only have like 2 seconds on YouTube to be able to get somebody to hook to watch a trailer even or a teaser. So we need a pre-teaser, and it'll be like you look up a movie trailer and it's 5 seconds of like a big action scene, like, somebody falling off of a cliff or something, and then it'll be like the trailer's going to start now, and it's like, but now that's in the trailer, and now you just showed me the big moment. And I don't need the teasers of we're going to tease that we're going to announce something. And I don't need a teaser, like you said, a teaser for an advertisement for a show that's already been announced, where you don't do anything other than go, remember, WrestleMania's in Vegas. And it's like, am I supposed to go, oh, shit? Like, so the rest sitting around playing poker. What?
I just had to check myself. This was the announcement that the combo tickets to get your Saturday and Sunday seats are on sale. That was the actual purpose of the ad, and thankfully, it's not just literally, hey, remember, we're in Vegas. Yes, because honestly, WWE today could do, hey, remember, we're in Vegas, and nobody would bat an eye, because that's just the place they're in right now.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that whatsoever. And, I mean, like we're saying about like you set yourself up for this mystery question mark element of it. And if you don't deliver for what other people's imaginations can create, it's going to be a disappointment. And like, I don't know, for instance, I'll tie this back into a more Fanboys Anonymous thing, which if you don't know what Fanboys Anonymous is about, obviously go to fanboysanonymous.com. You can go to fanboysanon.com. It's the same thing. All right, as I do, I type out Fandomni because that's my other name, like they've been doing, the Russo brothers did this thing for Avengers Endgame before anybody knew what the name of the movie was. And it was just a picture, and it was like, look closely or something. And through different like scaffolding and a chair and whatever, they were spelling out the word Endgame. And they released something like that for Avengers Doomsday or Secret Wars, or for all we know, some third fucking movie. I don't know. And it's another like, look closely and whatever. Nobody's been able to figure it out. And I've seen every type of, the way that the lines are based off of the lighting means this, and that's an A and a V and an X, which means Avengers versus X-Men. Oh no, it means this, whatever. I've seen every possible permutation of people being like, this is such a big deal, this is so cool, and I can't wait for these 900 different characters to be in the movie or whatever. And if it ends up just being, okay, well, we were teasing the idea that like, remember Doctor Doom's coming or something like that we already know, then people are going to be like, well, then the next time around that you're teasing something, I don't care. And that's when you get to things like QR codes that people don't click on anymore because they just lead to the Wyatts being like, here's another goofy promo. Or if you set up like, the big debut of somebody and it ends up being just, haha, we got you, it's so-and-so. And I mean, this isn't like some make or break it thing that somebody's going to watch these videos of the people walking and then be like, I'm not watching WrestleMania. But at the same time, it's like, well, I don't care. And then it kind of just hinders my own perception of like, okay, you've got nothing to advertise. So you just said, here's 4 people that are popular. And we don't know what they're doing with them yet. But I don't know. Remember, we got these 4 guys. And we talked about this on the Saturday Night's Main Event side up of everything, the predictions and all. It's 4 people that have been around for a long, long time.
There's nobody new on that poster. There's nobody new on that poster.
Right. Yeah. It's like Brock was the next big thing 23 years ago. And Roman's been the big dog and whatever for 15 years or whatever. Cody came in 2007 or whatever it was. And like, yeah, he's been reinvigorated with like his going to AEW and stuff like that. But it's like, even Cody's like, yeah, okay, you're not, it's somebody who's just brand new to the roster or some like hot ticket item that's like rising the ranks right now. And Punk's, he's been around for 20 something years.
Punk was in the company by the time we get to WrestleMania next year, 20 years ago.
Right.
Like,
so it's like, hey guys, remember all them? Yeah,
and
I do.
I saw this one. I saw this controversy of like, why is Hunter on the poster? And then that led to people being like, here's a bunch of posters with Vince McMahon on them. That's different. He was a character on the show. It's like, Hunter's on the poster because he's a recognizable face. And like,
he's the face of WWE.
Himself as Mr. WWE.
Right.
If Dana White could be on all the UFC posters, he would be. Like.
Yeah. Like, I don't have an issue with Triple H being the guy that's like introducing that and being like, here's the puppets that I'm puppeteering essentially, or Paul Heyman being like a manipulative person in the background, whatever. But like, I don't know, maybe save this for something where if they would have had some kind of an announcement, like, again, like I don't want everything to just be, it has to announce stuff way in advance or it needs to be, specifically targeted to something. But like, I would care so much more if this exact same ad would have been the 4 of them, or even just 2 people playing cards or whatever it might be, to set up like a stipulation or to announce like, I don't know, the return of Raw Roulette. Like even something like that, I'd be more like, oh shit, Raw Roulette's coming back. More so than just, oh, okay, yeah, it's just a WrestleMania advertisement. So, God forbid what we end up getting next year when it comes to promoting the Riyadh stuff. We're just gonna hear bum 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 da 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 over again. You guys getting sick and tired of that fucking ad too?
Is that sound specifically only for the Riyadh stuff? Because I do hear that a lot.
Riyadh season, yeah, where it's got like the Mewtwo ad and it's like Morgan Freeman pops up and whatever.
Hey, maybe one day it'll be in the sky.
Yeah, that's insane. That sky thing. Well, on Raw we figured out what the Cryptic thing was all about and ended up being a bust, but some other stuff that happened on Raw that we didn't yet talk about. We talked about a lot of that when I came to the Saturday Night's Main Event stuff, all the stuff with Penta and the Intercontinental title and Rusev, Dominic Mysterio and all. Nikki Bella seems very happy with her performance with the Roxanne Perez match. That's been going around a lot. I don't know why that's like specifically been mentioned, but okay. Kabuki Warrior stuff, continuing that, going along here with that storyline. Here's an interesting thing, though. Maxxine Dupri had a backstage segment with Adam Pearce. And Adam Pearce was like, you've gotten 2 wins over Becky Lynch, which is awesome. And your last match was an Intercontinental title match that you won by... she had won by the count out and disqualification between those 2 matches. So you deserve a title shot, which is like, all right, you already just had one, but I get it. And she says, I don't want to do that right now. I want to wait and I want to train and I need help from a friend of mine. I don't know who it is. I'm assuming it's Natalia, to train me to make sure that I'm making the most of this opportunity, because these opportunities don't come around all that often and I want to be ready for it, whatever. And Pierce's response is effectively, sure, I'll just wait and you tell me when you want a title shot. Which says to me, they want to continue this story. They don't want to drop it. Yet, for something that's really just ultimately going to be Becky beats Maxxine and, they're just killing time anyway, they feel the need to kill time for at least 2 weeks. Because if they would have announced, they could have announced this for Saturday night's main event. They could have announced it for next week's Raw. And they have no problems these days announcing things for 2 weeks from now. We've gotten things that are announced on NXT that are like, in 2 weeks, you're going to have a match with so-and-so. So we're not getting this Maxxine Dupri and Becky Lynch match until mid-November at the earliest. But they really want you to know that that's like, hey, don't lose track of that. I wonder why.
So it could be Natty. I feel like it might also be AJ. Because AJ would at least warrant the surprise of like, hey, let's give it a little bit so I can have someone train me. Because AJ did make Becky tap and they haven't followed that up yet.
Even that, though, I mean, like, it's strange to have to be like, let's kill time for a month and a half. For, like, let's do this side feud with Maxxine, and then, no, we can't just have the match, and we gotta stall for more time. Is it to keep Becky away from the Vision for a little while, where people forget about that? Is it because Becky's got other stuff going on? I don't know.
Well, Becky does have an injured husband at home, but I can't imagine that would really keep her away for too long. I think it's just to build up to AJ.
I hope so, at least for my fantasy league team. She needs to win that title. I thought that was going to be a thing that would happen in like a pretty quick turnaround, and then she just disappeared. Yeah. It is what it is. I don't know if we're going to get something interesting down the line. Maybe, there's going to be a vignette next week where Maxxine's going to be walking, and then it'll build to something else like that. Going through, I don't see anything else really that was worth talking about on Monday Night Raw. Everything else we kind of lumped into everything else. Bliss and Charlotte beat Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, the Kabuki Warriors came.
I mean, worth saying, fantastic match.
Yeah, that was actually, I put that on my match of the year list. Funny enough. And if you missed that, go back and check it out. Of course, it doesn't hit the same as if you're now watching it live. And that titles were changed and all that. But there were some moments where I was just like, oh shit, are they going to actually change the titles?
It was probably one of my favorite Charlotte matches in a while.
Has this been working for you, the tag title thing with Charlotte? Because to me, that's made Charlotte much more interesting than she's been in years.
I think, it's working for me because, I've said, I like the idea of, Bliss and Charlotte being able to go to any show. And it's very clear that not just for you, but for a lot of the fan base at large, now that Charlotte isn't at the tippy top, people feel a lot better just being like, yeah, we like Charlotte. And I think it's helped her there, and I think she is genuinely having fun. So it's been fun to see. I wish there were more opponents for them, but that's another issue.
You gotta have an opponent.
You gotta have an opponent.
Poor Sami Zayn. Charlotte Flair can go down, be a tag team champion, and people are like, all right, I'm not gonna be as as against her. Sami Zayn's United States champion putting on banger matches, and people are like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, he's firmly in fuck that guy territory. I don't know why.
So strange. Now, you're not watching, Callum, so I wouldn't assume that would change your opinion about Charlotte or whatever, but in theory, do you think that's been a success?
I mean, if people are more aligned to like be comfortable with her being not like shitting on her in the same way that they were when she was constantly in the world title picture, then yeah, there must be a success in that regard. But it will change once she gets back into the world title picture, and then it'll just go straight back to it. So it's one of those things that it should, in theory, be rehabilitating her to the point where when she does potentially go back for a world title run, there won't be as much of a negative reaction, but it will be the exact same reaction, if not worse, probably. They're happy with where she is now because she's not at the top, and it won't. And that's it's not even. I don't think it's even to do with the tag team. Though the tag team is like good and seems to be working out well. It's more the case of that positive reaction to her is the fact that she's not on top at the moment.
I think a lot of that's going to depend on how they split them up too. Because if they do the same old shit where it ends up just being like they lose the tag titles, then Charlotte beats up Alexa, and the like, I'm the queen, I shouldn't bow down to have a partner because I'm better than everybody, and then now I just have the same gimmick I've had for 10 plus years, then everybody's just gonna go, okay, well, we just hit the reset button. And if it ends up being Bliss turns on Flair, and you're supposed to be like really sympathetic towards Charlotte, I don't think anybody's going to be sympathetic towards her either. I think that they almost have to kind of split them up eventually as just being like, we lost the tag titles and we're just going to go into singles competition, and, I'll see you later. I'm going to go to the opposite brand. Then again, who knows? Maybe something weird ends up happening along the way. It completely changes things, but that's my perspective at least. On the NXT side of things, some interesting things happening on there. I mean, generally speaking, NXT is pretty interesting because it's kind of one of those like Wild West shows. You never know what the hell you're going to get. And they had their tournament final for the Speed #1 contenders thing. Jasper Troy beats Axiom. So in 2 weeks, El Grande Americano is going to face Jasper Troy for the Speed title, which was not
that seems like a mismatch.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, Axiom's going to win that, and then it's going to be Axiom against El Grande Americano, and Axiom's going to be starting something with Rayo and Bravo, and, it's a pretty obvious thing like that. Okay, never mind, Jasper Troy wins. And I'm hoping Troy wins the title, because I think that it makes more sense for an NXT guy to be holding that than El Grande Americano.
I agree, and I think it can get him over. You remember when they did the Baron Corbin, like, the crowd is just counting how long the match takes?
Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah, do that. Because he's a monster.
I don't know if there was like a bigger peak of like, man, this guy's the future for Baron Corbin than when it was like Baron Corbin against Bull Dempsey in NXT, where it was like, okay, Bull Dempsey's beating a lot of people and Baron Corbin's beating a lot of people. Oh my God, they're going to go up against each other. Who's going to waver? And, let's start counting. But the Troy thing, it's one of many title things. This is kind of confusing to me. They advertised NXT Gold Rush as being the 18th and the 25th of November. And then on this episode and on next episode and the week after, they're just having title matches all across the board. So it's like you're watering down what NXT Gold Rush is supposed to feel like by having all these other championships defended in the weeks leading up to it. Not that it's a bad thing that they're being defended, but it's kind of like, okay, but then when Gold Rush comes around and people go, yeah, well, you know what? The Evolve Championship is going to be on the line. Yeah, okay, well, we already just had the Evolve Women's Championship on the line 2 weeks ago.
Well, and I was going to say, but they're also going to host TNA title matches, but they just had one on Tuesday. So
exactly, yeah. Like Kendall Gray retains the Evolve Women's title over Lash Legend. Kalani Jordan turns heel and retains the TNA Knockouts World title over Jordynne Grace, because Jordynne Grace can't win a fucking thing.
What is that? Like, all right. Full disclosure, my viewing habits are so much closer to Callum's. I didn't see this week's episode of NXT, but I did see highlights. I do know that she's turned heel. Why can't Jordynne Grace win anything? What is the strategy there?
The only thing I can think of is that in their minds, they think that they're humbling her to the point that when she wins, people won't be upset about it. As if like, oh, she's coming in and she's just winning everything. And they're like overcorrecting. But maybe there's just like something else afoot. I don't know. I don't like it at all, though. We've been talking about this for the JC Jane, Blake Monroe stuff. Jordynne Grace has had like maybe 9-10 important matches for like titles or number one contenders matches or something. And she's lost every single one of them except like the last match against Blake Monroe. So it's like not really for anything. God damn.
I think it's either a case of, as you say, potentially humbling her because like she's in their mind still new and hasn't done anything because it's not been in WWE. But it could also just be the fact they think that she's so she can't lose momentum that they can basically just do what they want and build other people instead of her because they know she's pretty much ready-made to go up to the main roster at any point, and they're just keeping her there until they feel like there's a right time to bring her up.
Maybe. I mean, the SmackDown roster needs her now. You know, they could call her up now, and it would be a good move.
But it's essentially, you're right in the sense that, well, there's a lot of women in NXT that the main roster could use just because of the lack of people there. But it's a case of, well, they're just going to go there and they're just going to have matches with other people and they're not going to tell any actual stories or build them up or show any real character. They'll just, that's the issue, is that they should just bring them up because they're more than ready to be on main roster television. But the fact of the matter is they'll go up and they won't have anything to do, or they'll just be having matches on TV and not actually progressing anything.
The whole situation's very strange to me because it's like the women's division in NXT are very clearly the priority more than anything else. And you would think that Jordynne Grace being brought in as this big signing, this big deal, somebody that they could put the title on and really make like the person, you would think that they would, you know, at least be willing to give her something. Like they came back around to giving Blake Monroe the North American title. And I don't even think that that's necessarily the right decision, but now it kind of seems like they're doing something with Zarya and the Speed women's title because another thing, Ruca vacated that title, and that's in and of itself a little bit weird too. I'm still not entirely convinced that that's a true injury, or if it is,
I think she's just hurt. I think that brand, wrestling overall, but that brand in particular, when it comes to leg injuries, I think they're just snake bit.
I mean, it could very well be the case, but I'm more and more suspicious as time goes on that it's not just like another faked injury story, or that it's not necessarily a faked injury, but like that it's being like inflated, and like maybe she like kind of tweaked her ankle and they're like, oh, just, you know, sit out for 2 weeks, and then they're going to make it a whole big thing and, you know, do that separately and all. But Ruca vacated the title, and starting, I think it's next week, or maybe it's week after, that they're going to have a tournament to, you know, crown a new women's speed champion. Nobody's been announced for it, but Zarya has been saying like, you know, I'm going to go into that. Ruca had the option of having Zarya defend the title on her behalf and said no, because she already lost the title for her. So why would you do that? Which to me makes no sense. Because it's like, I'd rather just give up my title than to allow my friend to possibly keep it for me.
Yeah, but she's also like, my friend is incompetent because she lost to Blake Monroe. Which, by the way, shouldn't the champions be flipped in NXT right now? Shouldn't? Mm-hmm. I'm very happy for Tatum Paxley. But shouldn't Tatum Paxley be the North American champion as a stepping stone belt, and the woman who was the AEW Women's World Champion be the NXT Women's Champion?
That's, you know, funny enough, what happened the last time that Blake Monroe was champion?
So, Mercedes. Yeah.
So it's the opposite way around. They're correcting the AEW confusion of Blake is the world champion, but she's being overtaken by the mid-card champion. So let's give her the mid-card title and have the world champion and we'll overtake her. It's a little weird, but you know, stranger things.
for the audience they're catering for, Tatum is the more established character, so it makes sense that she's the world champion in that environment.
I'm very happy for her. Genuinely, like, that made me happy to see that they actually went with her and that she, beat the odds.
She also
for a while,
brought
it
out
didn't look good for Tatum.
some odds of her own when she brought back the spin the wheel, make the deal thing. This time around, though, a challenger for the title, because she was like, I want to be a fighting champion, so let's spin the wheel, and whoever it lands on, I'm going to defend against them tonight. I like the story element of Izzy Dame wasn't on the wheel, and Tatum's just like, well, yeah, of course, because I don't want that to get in the way of our friendship. And then Izzy Dame, of course, is just like, oh, damn it, like, you're really making me, want to beat you up and take you out of the calling and take this title from you, kind of a thing. And, they lands on Lola Vice. It ends up being a fuck finish with Fatal Influence attacking and all. So, my theory that JC Jane's just going to go straight up to the main roster or whatever, that seems to be at least on hiatus, and they're going to continue to do stuff with a 6-woman tag next week. So, yeah, I mean, still could be right around the corner, but we got some more time that we're going to keep them in there. Tatum's...
I mean, as someone who doesn't watch, like, it's hard for me to tell, but like, I just don't think that why they move them up as soon as they've just added someone else to their group. Like, surely you need to at least keep the leader of that group around long enough to bed this other woman in to the point where she can take JC, or Fallon could take JC out and kick her out of the group if JC's the only one going up. Surely they're not planning on moving all of them up at the same time, and with like Lainey Reed, lack of like someone who actually does need NXT going up with them. So it seems odd that they would add someone to the group. That's why I thought it was kind of odd that they had Paxley win, but obviously it's a good thing for her. But it's a case of you've just added someone who's super inexperienced or super like new to the NXT television to your group. You've got to stay around to accommodate that person now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Lainey Reed's the type that... There are some people that, you bring them up to the main roster and they learn on the main roster. We talked about it before with, like, it worked for Bliss, it worked for Braun Strowman, some other people here and there. I don't think she's the type to really do that. I think Fallon could very easily, like, Fallon and JC, if they put them on the main roster, they're fine. But Reed is a different story, and it would be a little bit weird to just break them off from her, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. Because I'm not really digging Lainey Reed as part of this group. She doesn't really fit in my mind. Funny enough, I think that she would be a better fit for the Culling, and Izzy Dame would be a better fit for the Fatal Influence. Maybe swap those two. But yeah, I don't think that they're planning on doing some kind of a swap between those two or anything like that. It's a weird situation with like all the women and all that, and it's weird when it comes to having like, pretty much anything with the title scene. Like, I don't know where they're going with Tatum and all that, because is it just we're going to put the title in Izzy? And if not, then Izzy is like the first main feud for Tatum. And then what? Because like there's nobody standing out to me to be like, okay, well, it's clearly going to be so-and-so. And this year, I have had such a piss poor track record of trying to track which like titles are going to change hands in NXT that like for some reason the main roster, it's easy to predict. NXT, it's all over the place. We got the Heritage Cup is just missing again. Every time that it seems like they're going to bring somebody up from NXT, like it seemed like very obvious that they were going to bring Lash Legend up, and then they didn't. Kalani and Lash have been like back and forth, which one's going to turn heel, which one's going to be a babyface. Dark State drops the titles to the Hardys and win it right back. Alba Fire and Chelsea Green and even Paige are on NXT talking about the AAA mixed tag team titles, while Thea Hale, who was most recently on Evolve, sings Joe Hendry's theme so he can talk about the AAA mixed tag. Like, it's kind of just a mess.
The funniest thing about this scene was as soon as Alba Fire heard Thea singing, she dived on Chelsea as if she was about to be shot because she knew Joe Hendry was going to come out of nowhere. I thought, like, that's fun. They're all funny. Everybody involved in this is funny, but it's almost too cute for pro wrestling, or at least for me.
I'm just confused about what the plan is.
The plan is, hey, Chelsea, you're boosting NXT ratings. Hey, Ethan, do you potentially want to go up with Chelsea and be the next Miz, perhaps? We'll see. Just let's keep pairing you together, and we'll see where this goes.
They should.
And Joe will probably be the guy to take the belt off Ethan.
Maybe that's the thing that they're also stalling on. Maybe it's just like, well, we can't officially have him win that title until the TNA deal is over. Do we know when his contract's up?
I don't remember anymore.
I feel like it's the end of this year.
Something to that effect.
Because I think a lot of people, like, think the Hardys are up at the end of this year, if I remember correctly. I don't know. But yeah, we got a last man standing match is going to be happening in 2 weeks between Ricky Saints and Trick Williams. So again, in 2 weeks, right before Gold Rush, the NXT Championship is going to be defended. Why not on Gold Rush? Weird. Seems like we're setting up the Dark State, Javon Evans, and Leon Slater match for Gold Rush because they're kind of like stalling for that a little bit. NXT is an interesting show, even if it's weird. Yeah,
it's the one that I at least try to follow because at least there's some kind of, hey, you can potentially see some young stars here. You know?
Yeah. Now, young stars and the future and all that, another talking point to talk about is on Evolve, which nobody watches. They have 3 new WWE ID prospects that they introduced, and then they brought somebody from LFG. The LFG thing, not at all surprised. It's Penina Tuilaepa. They had already trademarked PJ Vasa, so she shows up and she beats up Kendall Gray at the end of the show. I saw your tweet about Sid looking powerbomb.
Yeah. You ever see Sid just drop Michaels?
Yep.
It looked like that level of a powerbomb. She's fucking incredible looking. I push her to the moon.
Sid powerbombing Michaels is one of my favorite powerbombs of all time. So I knew exactly which one you were talking about. There's something about the way that he lands. I don't know. It just looks like he like it looks fake, you know, in like a and the AI would have done that in kind of way, you know.
And that's the way I felt like Kendall Gray landed. And again, she looks great. She looks like she could be a major star just based on look alone. And that's what Evolve is for. So push her to the moon. The other 3 recruits, the only thing I know is that one of them was trained by Booker.
So it's Eli Knight, who is a part of Reality of Wrestling and some other places. He mentioned Ace Steel also trained him. And then there's Mike Cunningham, who they made a big fuss over as he's part of the Nightmare Factory, and Cody Rhodes says that he's the next guy and like that kind of thing. And then Jha'Quan McNair, who I botched typing the name of 3 times the first time that I typed it, because it's JHA''QUAN. And I was like, God damn, man, if anybody's going to need to get like another name that I can like, you know, if you're going to take a guy and give them another bland ass name, please have it be Jha'Quan McNair because it's hard to type. Not as hard as Katsuyori Shibata. That's when I cannot type that for some reason. My fingers like always get stuck on Katsuyori. Jha'Quan McNair is from Lodi's wrestling organization. It's like a Fearless Academy or something like that. I don't remember exactly the full name for it, but I don't know anything about these 3 guys. They introduced them in the most bland, generic way possible. It was just like, hey, my man, Jha'Quan McNair, you're really talented. And he's like, hell yeah, I am very passionate. I'm going to be a good pro wrestler. And then Eli Knight, hell yeah, man, you're really talented. Oh man, I'm so excited to be here. I'm very passionate about being a wrestler. I'm Mike Cunningham. Everybody says you're great. Oh yeah, man. It's great to be here. It's like, fuck me. Everybody's so fucking bland. Can somebody have a character? And then you got It's Gal being like, I'm going to give the Dudley Boys a 6.3 on the It's Gal Studometer, and I'm upset that I don't have a tag team partner. But now I'm upset that you're watching me have feelings, and I don't want you to see me have feelings. And it's like, God damn, that guy's got character. Show me more It's Gal, you know? But I guess we should be looking forward to these three, and in particular, they want us to be super excited about Mike Cunningham. If anybody's seen anything about these guys, let us know.
I don't know, man. Cody's Nightmare Factory doesn't have the best track record. Brock Anderson is doing all right now in MLW, but didn't light AEW on fire. Lee Johnson just finally found his footing, but didn't light AEW on fire to begin with.
Who else went through there?
Those are the main two that I know. I believe the Renegade Twins, or they were once called that, but the Renegades did as well.
Let me see if I can find any. So this is Jack Jameson, Carly Bravo, Ashley D'Amboise, Julia Hart. Yeah, the Renegades are on the list. And then a bunch of people that I've never even heard of before, like Sid Ellington, Teriyaki, Mercury Peace. Yeah, Teriyaki. I didn't even think about that when I just said that. Brooke Havoc. Yeah, I don't know. Dean Alexander, whatever. I guess we'll see if Mike Cunningham is, he's the guy to watch out for and all this. But Evolve was what it was. On Wednesday, we also had the AEW Fright Night edition of Dynamite. And we also have the recording for the Collision episode of Fright Night, so I'll give you some spoilers on that. The Fright Night Dynamite stuff started off with Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy beating the Death Riders, and later on, we continue everything that's going on with that, but we might as well put that together with Jon Moxley and Kyle O'Reilly fighting to a double count out. And that leads to a challenge that I thought was pretty funny, where it was a little clunky, which is something else to talk about later, like clunky, but the execution at the end ended up being kind of worth it. Darby Allin's like, we want to punish you some more. Mark Briscoe saying you're all retreat, so we got a good idea for that. Orange Cassidy, you telling him. He's like, blood and guts. Orange Cassidy, consistently the most entertaining and fun guy for me. I fucking love Orange Cassidy. So
he did not want to be in Blood and Guts, and I understand that.
Just blood and guts. So
I will say, before Callum speaks on this, shout out to Kyle O'Reilly for having 2 fun matches with Jon Moxley, and I feel like they definitely need to go for a third singles, and it's been fun seeing him get a little bit of spotlight.
Yeah.
I feel we'll get that third singles match, because if there's any time now to write off Moxley, it's Blood and Guts, essentially, or that will be the catalyst for it. He needs to be the one that surrenders in the match, gives up for his team, and so that's the reason why they have to move on from him and either move Claudio up to a position of leadership or bring someone else in that will be there to replace him and be the new Moxley figurehead. But one way or the other, that's got to be where you kind of draw the line with it. That should be a feud ender. While I'm happy in the general concept of this Blood and Guts match, because it's got a lot of good people in it. So you've got Cassidy, Briscoe, Darby Allin, Paragon on one side, and then the 5 male members of the Death Riders on the other side. It's not a good look that they made this big announcement on this show. On this show, it's 2 weeks away from the show taking place, and all 10 members of the match are fully aware, whereas the match that was originally going to be the only Blood and Guts match that was announced 4 weeks ago or so, we still have no idea who the 10 women are going to be in that match.
Yeah, all we know is the 3 members of the Triangle of Madness, and then Hayter and Amanado, right?
Well, if even that, really, because we haven't seen a graphic. So we presume it's them. We presumed it was going to be like Mega Bad, but Penelope Ford's now injured, which was another big part of the show as well. The fact that Megan Bayne had to find a new tag team partner.
And it's
for the
Marina Shafir, so it's like, okay, well, if you want to do Death Riders and you got Marina Shafir in, if she gets involved in the Blood and Guts for the men, would she be in the Blood and Guts for the women? And you can throw Willow Nightingale in there, and like she's been feuding with the Death Riders and everything like that too. So like maybe that would make sense.
But it's more of a case of you've had 4 weeks to build up, lead up to this match. Surely, like even if like your original plan was to have Penelope Ford in it and she got injured and you had to replace her last minute, shit happens. That is the case. But surely you should have announced who the team is going to be and started promoting the match a little bit more than what you currently have. I know you've got the women's tag tournament going on. I think it's just muddied the waters a little bit all this time. But it's also just due to the fact that like the tickets for Blood and Guts and many other events post Full Gear for AEW are really, really struggling. Like they are going to be really empty shows at this current rate. So I just feel like, why didn't you promote it more? Like this is supposed to be a big deal. It's your first women's Blood and Guts match, and it's what people wanted to see. And you'd built up a lot of like a nice rivalry outside of like the title picture between like Tekla and the Triangle of Badness and Hater and Aminata and all these people. They felt like, okay, this is actually leading to a natural destination of Blood and Guts, and yet you still haven't announced the teams. Whereas like the men's match, you just do one announcement and then an hour later you have the graphic up and all 10 guys involved. It's like, see, you're not doing a great job beating the allegations against you. And I think when I say a lot of stuff that a lot of people say about the women's division in AEW is overblown, I think this is one instance where I could understand people's complaints about inequality towards it.
I mean, this is a glaring sign that you don't care about your women's division. And if you do, then you're at fault because this is the perception you're putting out there. This match was announced a month ago. We technically don't have a single woman announced. Tony said those names because they're obvious, but they technically haven't even said, hey, it's Team Jamie Hayter versus the Triangle of Madness +2. Well,
it's even different because like on, I know this isn't like the most accurate source, but like with Wikipedia and stuff, but on Wikipedia it's saying the current people announced, Jamie Hayter, Queen Aminata, TBD and TBD versus Triangle Bandits and TBD. So they're suggesting it's 4-on-4.
Right. Which I think the reason they're doing it is because they're getting cheeky and they're going to decide to do, okay, the women's match will be Collision and the men's match will be Dynamite. But even then, like, that sucks. Like, and to be clear, I don't like when WWE does this. I hate the fact that we have to have a women's War Games and a men's War Games every year just because. And it feels like AEW is just doing this because they're not doing...
No, but I will go against that. They're not doing it because. They're doing it because Blood and Guts wasn't selling tickets. And they decided to put a men's match on, a men's men's Blood and Guts match to try and sell more tickets.
By the way, they can't do that on both those episodes because apparently that out of all the weeks where they do Collision and Dynamite taped on the same night, that one's going to be one where they don't. So unless they switch the Collision on November 15th to be like Collision Blood and Guts, which they haven't advertised yet, then it would.
It'll be 2 Blood and Guts matches. Like the first day will be one match.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the second match will be the other match. But
and it's in 2 separate arenas too.
Yeah. And that's the reason why they're doing it, is because and like a lot of people, like uneducated people that just look at things at face value will just say, that shows that women can't draw. But it's like, no, you haven't promoted the match.
You haven't promoted the match. They're not being proven to be a draw.
Yeah, you haven't given them the right conditions to it.
It's like, how... But what are you saying about the women when you just immediately go, and here's the men's match laid out with a graphic, and we haven't even done that for the match we announced a month ago. Like, I don't like it. I think it's high time somebody in an interview, instead of asking Tony Khan how excited he is about the card, asks him point blank, "Hey, what are your personal views on women's wrestling? How have they changed as your time as a promoter? And who do you have around you when you're booking the women's stories in particular?" It's time to get some answers, because even if he gives fluff, you at least get a better viewpoint of where his mind is, because all it does constantly is go, well, he likes Tony Storm, we can see that. And he likes Mercedes, we can see that. But you don't get a lot of comments from him on the women's division at large outside of, well, there were a lot of injuries. I want to know more about what he thinks of these women.
Yeah, get into the specifics and like answer questions in a way that are like, you know, actual answers, not roundabout. You know, when somebody asks like, yeah, this isn't related to the women, but like, you know, somebody says like, so what's the situation with Chris Jericho? Then you go, oh, I'm very glad that he's been a part of the family for so many years, and I'm really looking forward to figuring things out in the future. It's like, okay, well then that's a non-answer. And if you go like, what's up with that women's tag title situation? And then the answer is, I don't know. We'll see. I'd appreciate some transparency to just go like, I liked when the answer eventually became, I have to put the ROH Women's World Television I forget the name of that belt. That's Women's World Television Championship, right? It's too many. Like
ROH World Women's Television Championship.
It's too long. Like, okay, well, we got to put that tournament on hold because there's been too many injuries, and I don't want to do the tournament without having more people available. That was at least an answer. And I'm sure if he were to be asked, so why did you announce the women's blood and guts match and then not really follow up with it on anything and not even like slow drip it to where, you know, you very easily could have had in the past 4 episodes of Dynamite and Collision somebody work alongside Triangle of Madness and then be like, and she's also confirmed for blood and guts. And then somebody else helps out Hayter and Aminata. And then it becomes, and you know what? You got a new member on your team for blood and guts. And you could have slow dripped each member here and there. Yet they're going to do what is like the least interesting and the laziest and the most rushed option of them all, which is going to be next week. Because as far as I'm aware, they haven't announced anything on the Collision side of things for this. At least wasn't a part of any of the spoilers. It'll just be like next week they go, hey, and next week it's these other people. And that's like, I don't know, that doesn't give you any time to be invested in that. Even if it's the people that we've seen do all these things, and it's just like, of course, like Willow Nightingale's probably going to be part of it. And there's a chance that it's, you know, like Harley Cameron could probably be a part of it, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. It just doesn't ring the same. And maybe they could do teasers where each person that they still need to announce, you can see them walking. We have 2 number 1 contenders set up for this Fright Night Dynamite episode as well. We got the 4-way for the different tag teams, and FTR beats Jet Speed, Young Bucks, and Jurassic Express to get their title shot for Brodito at Full Gear. And Bandito apparently had a really good match with Mascara Dorada, according to a lot of different people on the Collision episode, which some people were a little bit worried that he might have gotten injured in. And if that ends up being the case, then I could see the tag titles switching hands. Of course, we're going to get into that a little bit more, you know, on the prediction side of things, Full Gear, but I'm not surprised that FTR won. Are you guys?
I thought it would be the Young Bucks, but FTR winning, I think will be a great match, and I do think that they might win the belt.
No, I thought FTR were the logical next choice to be made champions. I know it's like going back to are not reliable in that regard, but we know that they'll probably still be building up towards like the Cope and Christian Cage thing in the future. You've got Jurassic Express have just come back, and so they need a babyface, a heel team to win the titles off eventually, or unless you decide to go Jet Speed as well. I think there's more up and coming babyface tag teams, or like there's more interesting challenges on the babyface side than there are the heel side right now. So I think it's the right moment to, as good as Bandido and Brody King have been, and like a very welcome surprise in the tag team division, I think time is probably right to transition the belts off of them and put it onto FTR. But it's nice to see just overall the tag team division it looks in a much better place than it did like sometime last year as well. It feels more alive and there's a lot more moving pieces around.
And there was also before we get to the main event thing, another thing that happened along there, that Don Callis family, the Don Callis family summit was basically a means to say, hey, Konosuke Takeshita and Kazuchika Okada are still not getting along. You should shake hands. And then Okada gives him the little finger instead, which I thought was funny. And I thought it was a lame transition, though, to then go, okay, and the answer for this is you two are going to team up. And it's like, damn it, they did that, though. Like, that's not you didn't change anything. You didn't progress that forward. They already had 2 matches for the tag titles, the whole situation. So you just reverted back to last month again. But I did like the middle finger. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it is a little bit holding pattern at the moment to just go back to the tag team thing and just seeing if they can work together. But I guess they're just still in a stalling pattern right now until the Continental Classic gets started, and that's when they will start ramping it up a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's an issue with a fair amount of AEW right now, is that a lot of it is a bit in a holding pattern. So, and this is another instance of that. But I imagine at least Full Gear onwards, it should pick up based on the fact that if they are going to be doing the Wrestle Kingdom main event, they're going to need to pick it up there at the very least.
I think it's a lot of fun to see the family interact this way. I immediately started wondering what their big Thanksgiving family meeting would be like. But I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I do think AEW is in a holding pattern, but I've been feeling that way for a while, ever since they started ramping up the frequency of their pay-per-views. I really feel like some of the magic is gone because there's so much that does need to repeat now. But whenever they get in the ring, it'll be good.
And then the other big thing that happened on that episode was, of course, the number 1 contenders for the 4-way match for the AEW World Championship. Not at all surprising again. Samoa Joe beats Bobby Lashley, Hook, and Ricochet. And then there was this weird segment afterward. And this went from something that I had written down as one of the worst things of the year to one of the best things of the year. Where, as far as like smart out moments, so, kind of spot writing things. After the match, Tony Schiavone is out there with his Phantom of the Opera set up. It's Fright Night, so it's a costume thing. And he brings in a bunch of people that are wearing these like inflatable costumes, like a cow and, whatever. For seemingly like I was just like, what the hell is the point of this? It's to sign the contract, and you have to sign the contract now, and you have to bring these other people that are in costumes out. This doesn't make any fucking sense. And it was really weird, and it was really awkwardly paced, and I was hating it. Powerhouse Hobbs and Katsuyori Shibata beat those 4 guys down because, hey, one of them might be Hangman Adam Page in disguise, and it's not. And then there was like a solid minute or 2 where it's like, okay, well then what do we do? And they're kind of just killing time, and things aren't going anywhere, and well, now we should sign the contract, and hey, how about we toast to you? And there's some bottles of beer that are on the side or whatever. And I'm like, my God, this is terrible. This is a really poorly paced segment. And it turned out that the Tony Schiavone was actually Hangman Adam Page, and he attacks him from behind. And I don't know exactly when they did the switch because I haven't watched the segment back yet, but doing the like mimicking puppeteer thing where Page was pretending to be Schiavone talking and they just did like a voiceover or whatever. that element of it, I thought was done very, very well. I wish the pacing would have been better, but I did not see it being that he was Tony Schiavone dressed up as the Phantom of the Opera. And as much as I think that this is kind of just, repeating the same thing, which apparently for the 4th year in a row, Hangman Adam Page is fighting the same person at Wrestle Dream as he's fighting at Full Gear. A little weird statistic. I thought that the Phantom of the Opera thing was pretty great.
Yeah, I thought that moment was pretty cool. I thought the match itself preceding it was good. No, nothing like to write home about, but I thought Lashley in particular, his performance was pretty good. So I'm surprised at how good he was in the singles. Well, I didn't say singles, but obviously just on his own, competing against 3 other guys. Yeah, the result was never in doubt. You knew it was going to be Joe, but I did like the Phantom of the Opera stuff towards the end. I kind of, the thing I liked more was the kind of ferocity of Hangman Page's beatdown of Samoa Joe afterwards. Like he kicks both Shibata and Powerhouse Hobbs in the nuts to take them out, and then he immediately smashes a beer bottle over Joe's head, then lines up for the buckshot lariat, takes him out, and then is immediately on him, beating him down. Like, he's showing arguably, you very much argue like a level of aggression that this feud doesn't warrant. But it's good that it's there. We'd rather have that level of aggression rather than him just, going through the motions, because it's going to be a rematch, essentially. They're trying to add another, aspect of intensity into the match. So it should lead to some sort of like steel cage or some kind of gimmick match, Full Gear. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I think this was a nice way to add a bit more steam to the feud.
So I mean,
Yeah,
good.
I thought the Hangman being Shivani, that was great. That's a one of a kind thing that this company was able to pull off. Of course, that they were trying to call back to, I think, other times that Hangman had done this, like when he was the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. But I don't love the rematch here. I mean, it wasn't in doubt that it would be Joe after the turn at Wrestle Dream, but I'm wondering, like, what are they holding for? Is this just a, hey, we don't have much for you until MJF gets back? Because if that's the case, I'd rather them just use the depth of the roster. I love Joe, but, get a one-off in there with Briscoe, who you keep promising a title match to. Get a one-off in there with Orange Cassidy. And I know they're preoccupied with Blood and Guts. The reality is, maybe Hangman, as the man who defeated the Death Riders at World Championship run, should have also been like, I will also be part of the final stake through the heart of the group. But whatever. This is what they're doing. It'll be a good match, and I'm kind of just interested in what Hangman does beyond this.
Yeah, after they do whatever it is that they plan on doing with like the Blood and Guts stuff with do the Death Riders break up, or do they stick around? Is there new leadership? Any of those kind of things. I don't think that Page will be back into the mix with any of them, but transitioning over to the leader of the Ops for 2 pay-per-views, and then just sort of being like, all right, well, anyway, we moved on. Things, I think, still need to be kind of cleaned up, and I'm hoping that at the very least that maybe by the end of the year it can feel like a reset, and then things can be sort of like, all right, well, starting with Revolution, whenever that is, I'm assuming it's beginning of the year, or maybe like World's End, that it would just be like, all right, World's End is going to reset things with the Continental Classic, and I don't know, I guess we'll see.
We didn't actually specifically mention that. Well, I don't believe it specifically mentioned that the Sisters of Sin move forward in the women's tag team title
and
tournament.
also Penelope Ford is hurt.
We
talked about Ford. Yeah. But yeah, Sisters of Sin are advancing, so
which adds a lot of weight to my belief that it's going to be Willow and Carly in the final.
Yeah, I mean, now that
they're not going to do Sisters of Sin versus Athena and Mercedes, are they?
They're not.
I would highly doubt it. Yeah. So, I was going into it assuming Mercedes and Athena against Tony Storm and Mina Shirakawa. But now that the Sisters of Sin won, now it's like, all right, well, I got to completely change my point of view about that because I don't think that's going to be the case anymore. And if it ends up being at the pay-per-view, then it's even less of a chance because Mercedes is going to be against Chris Statlander. So, maybe it is Willow and Harley that end up winning these titles, or maybe they end up just becoming, the runners up.
I think they'll make the final definitely at this rate.
Well, but there's also Marina's getting a hell of a push. This could be a good chance to do something in ring with Marina.
They did do something in ring on the Collision.
Did they?
They have their so do you want me to run down
spoilers for anybody that doesn't want to know spoilers?
Yeah.
Spoiler. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So the things that have been listed is they had a tag match between Marina Shafir and Mega Bane, defeated Nixon Null and Miranda Alizé, who were a tag team that kind of debuted on TV on Collision last week. Funnily enough, confronting TJ, but now instead fighting Shafir and Bane. I guess as a means, they probably were originally planning to do TJ versus Null and Alizé, but then because of Ford's injury, they decided, okay, well, we need to give this team some level of credibility before they go into the match. So let's have them have the match with Null and Alizé instead. And then there's some people on PW Insider saying that it was a women's tag championship tournament match, but others saying that it's not.
Right.
So it couldn't have been. There was already a spot for.
Yeah, exactly. Unless one or both members of TJ are injured and they've been kicked out of the tournament and replaced by Null and Alizé, I doubt that was the case. So I assume this was just a one-off match to get them to help build up some chemistry as a team and expose this new team to the audience before they go into the actual tournament themselves.
Yeah,
it does actually lend more credit.
I don't trust that. When I was doing my spoilers coverage, I was like, all right, that's got to be a fake. Not necessarily fake, but I think a misconstrued thing. It could be the case. I don't know. But,
I think it adds more weight to my belief as well that they'll probably lose to TJ based on that. Because I think they'll probably just try and now that Ford's injured, they'll just put the more well-known tag team through. But then again, the winners are going to face and probably lose to Storm and Shirakawa anyway, so it doesn't really matter who wins that match. Then they had the Bang Bang Gang of Ace Austin, Juice Robinson, and Austin Gunn be Johnny TV and MXM collection. So they seem just your typical comedy style 6-man tag. And they had Takeshita and Okada had that tag match that they were scheduled for against, I guess formerly the acclaimed Anthony Bowens and Max Caster in probably, this is definitely heading a front runner for me for worst storyline of the year for AEW. Will they, won't they with Bowens and Caster.
In theory, I like it. In execution, I don't. Because the idea of Bowens and Caster don't want to be a tag team and Okada and Takeshita don't want to be a tag team, and that's interesting to put those two teams against each other. Sure, that works on paper. But I don't know, I can't connect with it.
I just think it's going to be quite boring, they're just doing the same storyline across two different things. I've kind of got burnt out with, in the past of WWE doing the can they coexist thing.
Right.
We don't need many more storylines of can they coexist, or why are we even doing this with Bones and Caster? If they both don't want to team with each other, why are they still doing it? It's and if they lose here as well, then it just shows, then they shouldn't, because they're losing to a team that also can't get along with each other. So maybe they should just stay apart. But either way, they had Mercedes Moné retain the CMLL Women's World Title over Olympia. So we're interested to see what the style of how that match goes. I'm not very familiar with Olympia, so be interesting how she competes. They did some promo packages for her on Dynamite, so at least they're hyping her up or giving her some exposure before the match takes place. Commander Mark Briscoe and Roderick Strong defeated LFI it's a weird group of 3 people to put together. Like I understand obviously Strong and Briscoe because they're both going to be part of the Blood Guts, but then
Wait,
just
is
throw
Commander not?
Commander in there.
Is he conglomerating now? Like,
No, Strong isn't conglomerating. Well, he's like conglomerating against his will. But yeah, I don't. Is Commander basically holograms replacement in the conglomeration? Is that basically we need another flippy luchador guy
Maybe.
to be in the conglomeration?
you ever see like when they recast a sitcom? Is he just, hey, the role of hologram is now played by Commander?
Yeah, and then that's the aforementioned Bandito defeating Mascara Dorado to retain the Ring of Honor World Championship. And yeah, basically people are saying it's a can't miss match. So I'm definitely going to be looking forward to check that out because I'm a big fan of Bandito. I think he's been having some of, if not the best matches of anybody in AEW all year. And Mascara Dorado is a lot of fun in the little fits and spurts I've seen of him both in CMLL and in AEW. So I will be excited to watch that match. So I want to follow up on as well because that's obviously the AEW side of things. There's a New Japan show taking place this weekend.
Nice.
It's Hiroshi Tanahashi's final homecoming.
That's the name of the show?
That's the name of the show, yeah. It's take place on the 2nd of November on Sunday. Right now, there are only 3 matches announced, which is crazy because it's only a couple of days away and they've only announced 3 matches. And one of those matches has not been confirmed yet because one of them is the Super Junior Tag League final. So this is to determine which team will be taking on the current junior tag champions, whose names escape me right now, but be facing them at Wrestle Kingdom for the title. Currently, it's Show and Dookie on one side, and then whoever wins the B block is on the other side. But I don't think that's been announced yet. And I haven't seen the standings yet, so I don't know who even is likely to win. But yeah, the other 2 matches are the more important ones, though, because Yota Tsuji defending the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship against Hiroshi Tanahashi. So that also probably sniffs out any faults of Tanahashi. Unless he wins this match, there's probably no hopes of Tanahashi losing this and then coming out to challenge Takeshita for the world title at the end of the show. So I think we can pretty much categorically rule out Tanahashi for the world title match. And then the actual world title match on this show is Takeshita against Hiroki Goto, which is the reason why Goto won't be challenging for the world title at Wrestle Kingdom either, because he'll lose here to Takeshita. And it's interesting timing because you would presume, based on just the timing, I know that we're still several months away, but there are no big shows left for New Japan between now and Wrestle Kingdom. That's their last big show. So, or at least the one, at least of all they've got listed in their schedule, because World Tag League starts in 20th of November and that runs all the way through to mid-December. So they won't be doing anything there. And then it's all Road to Tokyo Dome shows until Wrestle Kingdom. So you would assume that whoever is going to be facing Takeshita for the world title at Wrestle Kingdom comes out to challenge him at the end of this show. So that's the only reason I bring up the show in particular, because I don't think any titles or anything major is going to happen. But that one thing at the end of the show, we should have a pretty clear idea or have some certainty over who Takeshita is facing in the Wrestle Kingdom main event at the end of the show. And that just adds a bit of doubt over whether it is Okada, because surely they've just teamed together and they still haven't done the full breakup of the Don Callis family, so why would Okada be challenging him now? So it's worth keeping an eye on it. I'll at least be keeping an eye on maybe not watching the show itself, but like following online to see how, obviously, see Takeshita win and then who comes out afterwards.
What's your, like, if it's happening this weekend, what's your final guess?
I just don't have a clue. Like, I think if it's not Okada, which you'd argue that it probably won't be based on this, then it's either someone who's an outsider who's just coming in for Wrestle Kingdom to, like, that's going to be their big debut match. It's going to be against Takeshita, or someone that's coming back from a while. My mind immediately goes to Jericho.
I was going to say, that's where Chris Jericho is going. He's going to do a one-off at Wrestle Kingdom and then go to the Royal Rumble.
Which would make sense.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's the one that immediately comes to mind if it's not Okada. Because I just don't think there's anyone else unless like Omega just comes out and challenges him or something like that. But I doubt that will happen as well. But yeah, there's no one on the actual full New Japan roster that I think will possibly be challenging him. Because I assume Shota Umino and Yu Uemura will be in the tag league. Evil's already doing something at Wrestle Kingdom. It won't be Tanahashi based on this. It won't be Yosuji because he'll be the champion of have the global championship. It won't be Gabe Kidd because they haven't pushed him prominently enough. There's just no one on the main roster that's of New Japan that is in any way being positioned to challenge him, unless they just decide to take the safe, boring, and very disastrous route of just going back to Zack Sabre Jr. But I just don't think they can afford to do that.
What about and where's Kid right now?
He's just there, just doing things.
You think it'll be him, and it's like a I don't.
No, I said absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No, well then fuck it.
No,
I don't know.
Zero chance of it being Gabe Kidd. I'd say.
Zero chance. Okay, then I have no clue, and it'll be interesting to see where they go.
Well, put it this way: if they decide to understand like zero chance, like obviously they could decide to just put Toriano in the main event of Wrestle Kingdom if they want to. They can decide whatever the fuck they want. But if they actually planning on selling out this show or getting as many tickets as possible, then they can't use anybody from their actual roster, which is the sad state of affairs that New Japan is currently in.
That's crazy.
Well, I guess we're gonna figure out. And what time is the show?
It's on a Sunday at 3:00 or 5. Well, 6:30. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong show. Like 5:00 Japan time. So probably sometime in the morning for the UK or US audiences. I don't know what I'm not going to check the
that's
time.
also when the clock goes back in the United States, folks. So
it is.
If you're interested, keep an eye on that.
So it'll be, I don't know, 2 a.m. or something like that over in Eastern time. I don't know, but whatever big things happen, we'll roll that into next week's discussion for the hot tags too. So yeah, as we normally say, just drop a comment below and tell us what you think about these things. Tell us your thoughts on our thoughts, and tell us on the last minute predictions that you have for Saturday night's main event happening tomorrow night. So go ahead and check back on the predictions if you did not already see what we did with that. Make sure that you are also checking out everything that's on amangotree.com for all my different links for Smark Out Moment, Fanboys Anonymous, and for myself. And also make sure that you're following Robin Callum.
Yep, you can follow me everywhere on social media at Dude Felice. Callum?
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Weekmeister14. Check out the Power Rankings every Saturday over on smarkoutmoment.com, where I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And then check out the Fantasy League also at wwefantasyleague.com. where see how our teams are doing and who's picking up points as we head towards, I guess, Saturday night's main event as the next big thing that's going on. And of course, we will be doing the live coverage over on the live side of the YouTube channel for that. So make sure that you tune in, join us over that discussion, and we will do our next set of pay-per-views that we need to do predictions for and stuff over the course of the next couple of weeks and everything. But that's going to do us in for episode 726. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support, and we will see you next time. But for now, this has been another Smark Out Moment, and we are being counted out.